All right, so we're going to talk about the last part of the sine and cosine function, which includes the transformation, the phase shift of sine and cosine function. Now, as what the concept is stated, what the textbook is saying, the phase shift of a sinusoidal function is the difference between the horizontal position of the function and that of an otherwise similar sinusoidal function. So what it means by that statement is when it says phase shift, meaning the horizontal translation, what was the change when it moved either left or right? So that's all it's saying. That's all it's asking for. So now the symbol or the formula on how to find phase shift is stated right here. For y equals a sine of bx plus c plus d, and y equal a cosine of bx plus c plus d, where b is not 0, phase shift is equal to negative c over the absolute value of b. So I repeat, in order to find your phase shift, the formula for it is negative c over the absolute value of b. Now keep in mind when we're doing absolute value is because b can be either a positive value or a negative value. And keep in mind that b can be a whole number, a decimal, or a fraction. So in order to find phase shift, you need to find the value of c and you need to find the value of b. Now for b, you have to take the absolute value in order to find your correct phase shift. If you don't do the absolute value of it, you may get the wrong answer, the wrong value for phase shift. So be very careful with that. And as stated, using the given picture shown on the right, phase shift is basically the horizontal translation. So here, it was just asking what was the phase shift when the graph shifted from the light gray blue graph to the dark blue graph. So basically, you see how it shifted to the right. It was a horizontal shift to the right or a phase shift to the right. Now, here's another piece of information about graphing with phase shift. To graph the phase shift of a sinusoidal function of the form y equals a sine of bx plus c plus d, or y equals a cosine of bx plus c plus d, first determine the endpoints on an interval that correspond to one cycle of the graph by adding negative c over b to each endpoint on the interval 0 to 2 pi of the parent function. Well, that was a lot of information that sounds very confusing. So, it sounds confusing at first, even for myself, but basically, when you're using phase shift, you can use it to help you to graph. So, in order to know how to graph well, you just have to practice a lot. And that's speaking from experience. And my experience is I had a hard time graphing with sine and cosine graph. But again, the way how I got better at it, the way how I got well at graphing is trying to use the information that I know and practice on numerous examples. So for y'all, that's the only good way to understand how to graph sine and cosine functions. But as I stated before, we're just going to be able to identify the transformation, the horizontal vertical translation, up, down, left, right, the frequency, the period, the phase shift, and the amplitude. So we are just simply identifying the transformation given the function. But if I were to ask you how you would graph what was the transformation, you have to have the basic understanding in order to do so and tell me how to graph it.